We spent 40 years building trust, 30 in the health space, and we wanted to maintain that trust. And whether you know it or not, African Americans, you know the story around health testing, health experimentation. And so we were really careful of not compromising our trust, and we wanted voices that spoke to them the way we would speak to them.
Welcome to Keep It Local, a podcast of the Local Media Association. The Local Media Association is intensely focused on helping local media companies discover new and sustainable business models. Welcome to Keep It Local. My name is Ryan Welton with Local Media Association, and I am delighted to be joined today by another of LMA's Digital Innovators of the Year. It's Paris Brown. Paris is with the Baltimore Times. Paris, would you tell us a little bit about yourself and about the Baltimore Times?
Sure. So, about myself, I'll do in the order that you asked. So, about myself, I come from a very non traditional background. I'm not a journalist and not worked in a media organization. So, I come with a very interesting background, business development, literally a degree in retail and in sales. I always tell people I have a degree in sales. And so I think that frames a lot of my approach to what I do. And then I have a secondary degree in interior design, and I'll explain
Mm.
later on about how I use that. But I do take both of those backgrounds and I do merge it, and you see it in our approach and development, what I consider news product, and even how I approach collaboratively. That's required in interior design. How I approach working with individuals, working with community, working with organizations. And then about the Baltimore Times, I'm super excited to say this year we celebrate 40 years of positive stories, telling positive stories about our community. So we're super excited about that. The mission has not changed. It's remained the same for 40 years, and it has allowed us to gain trust in our community and be known as this is the publication, regardless of your status and who you are, whether you're famous or not. You can be on the cover of the Baltimore Times, which is the most requested position that people want in our community. So it's really exciting to know that, hey, the Baltimore Times covered me, and I have this article from 25 years ago, and here it is, and I'm on the cover. And we have people tell us this is for my grandchildren. So yeah.
That is fantastic. It's almost like the Rolling Stone, making the cover of the Rolling Stone, making the cover of the Baltimore Times. You were a digital innovator of the year largely because of your early adoption of AI. And you have described, I'm quoting you, you've described AI as your friend and not a threat. And I completely agree. I've been in journalism for 30 years. I completely agree. But this is pretty different than how a lot of folks in local media see it. Can you talk about your AI philosophy, how you got there, and how you're using AI at the Baltimore Times?
Sure. So, what really drives our AI philosophy, I believe, is need. As a small publisher, we have many jobs. We have less resources than our counterparts. And when I say fewer resources, I'm talking human, I'm talking financial, and I am talking tech. So I begin to look at these free AI models and how they can help different aspects of our business where we had those gaps and then we lack those resources that I mentioned.
So you're not just producing content, you're serving the community. You've used AI to make your health coverage more accessible, letting readers pick avatars and voices to narrate stories. Why was that important for your audience? And what kind of feedback have you received? Also, was this a difficult thing to do?
Um, I think first I want to say nothing is difficult with a partner, and our approach to a lot of things that we have done is partnership. When you have a small staff of 3 or 5 people, a lot of our writers are contract, and then we have contract employees, and so it, you know, collaboration becomes the key to success in what you're able to do. And so when we look at the the AI in health coverage, I go back to this, it was really part of meeting a need, and so when we approached it, we approached it meeting a need and thought, "Here's a tool on the market that we can help meet a need." And again, and so even how that got started, the Baltimore Times, for 40 years, we've built trust in our community. For 30 years, we've been in the health space. And so one of the things that was really important to us as we look at it, and how we actually ended up creating in partnership with our technology company, this whole AI around, and it really started around health. We were at a community center and all the brochures are wrapped up. And we were like, well, why are they wrapped up? And they're like, well, some people can't read. And we thought, why should they be at a disadvantage and not know this information? And I'm speaking of a reality that if you were to Google it and see what literacy rates are nationwide, that you would be challenged. And sometimes they're just language barriers. How about that? Do we speak a different language? And so we thought, let's create a technology that not only reads or creates a summary, but does it in our voice. We spent 40 years building trust, 30 in the health space, and we wanted to maintain that trust. And whether you know it or not, African Americans, there, you know the story around health testing, health experimentation, and we sit in the backyard of a Henrietta Lacks right here in Baltimore. And so we were really careful of not compromising our trust, and we wanted voices that spoke to them the way we would speak to them, right? And maintain that trust. That's why that was important. And then choosing what avatar you wanted to speak to you. And having that flexibility we thought was very important. Yes, it does allow for extension of audience, right? But more importantly, the reason behind why we are such a um, staunch reporter around health, it is one of our foundational pillars, is we want our community, the Baltimore Times itself, not only do we do positive stories, but everything that we do in terms of our values, whether it's a story, whether it's an event, it's around supporting the well-being of our community. And health is one of those issues and areas that we cover every single week in the Baltimore Times, and we've done so for 30 years. So we encourage people to take accountability for their health. And this was just another tool or way we saw us being able to do that for our community.
Did the audience did they take to it? Did they like it? Was there a learning curve for them? And what was their reaction to your willingness to reach them where they are?
But what was interesting, we found that we're looking at the analytics, we found that they liked the summaries, believe it or not, because we can see where they stopped, and they actually ended up reading the summaries about 2 or 3 times, believe it or not. So the tool, um, did the summary, and then it did the you could click, so you had the option of clicking. We didn't necessarily do a survey in terms of audience feedback to answer your question. We just have the analytics around how many times they pressed the play button and how many times they engaged in the short summary. um, but yeah, we should do that. That's actually a good idea. Mhm.
Well, I was listening to a webinar earlier this week where they were just talking about it was the local news crisis in Michigan, big event, and they were talking about we need to get back to the basics of just serving our community, and that's
Mhm.
what you're doing, and you're doing with big ideas. You're LMA Digital Innovator of the Year. So I have another question for you about big ideas. Big ideas like transforming newspaper boxes into promotional billboards and blending AR and VR into storytelling. I have to be honest with you, I really haven't heard of any other publications doing much with AR or VR. How
Mhm.
do you decide how do you decide which tech innovations to pursue and what about them makes you say, "Yes, let's experiment with this?"
I think with that one, and it was so funny because I was at the LMA Fest when I came up with the idea, and I remember think I was literally in the room. I went back to the room and came out, and someone said, so we partnered with the, Maryland Cycling Classics, which is the largest race in America, as their official print media partner. And they wanted us to celebrate Black cyclists. And I'm sitting there and thought, what would be cool if we can get them to race against these legends? And I called up a tech company. I'm like, "Can you do this?" And she said, "Yes." And then I thought to myself, always thinking threes, that's a design thing. And I thought, okay, I got one experience. I need to create some more experiences. And we were introduced as part of this being official media partner to an artist that used technology. And so we were able to blend augmented reality where we could tell the story if you had loaded the app and you held it up to an image which had the technology in it, you could tell a story. And so we use augmented reality and then we use the virtual reality in racing again. So you, Ryan, we wanted to immerse you in experience. And I think the approach for me as we looked at that project, I thought I would love for our audience to experience the legends and not just tell the
Mm.
story. We had print. We knew we had that. We know we have QR codes. We know we have website. Had social media, but I wanted them to become immersed in the storytelling. I wanted them to be part of the narrative. And that really um was what drove that, and I knew that technology and innovation would allow us to do that. And so I never thought it as I thought of it as experimentation. I'm like, I want to do this, this, and this. And I would just literally share it with the company, like, okay, we can do it if we do this, if we can do this. I was like, great. Now I want them to take it with them. So then they were like, "Oh, okay, we can text a race to them." And what was really cool, Ryan, if you look down, you actually were on a bike. You were riding, and then the legends are riding next to you. And we thought, well, how can we tell their story? We start at the turn of the century, and then they come in at the point of the height of their career, and then their story gets told. And then you all end up at this finish line which we used AI to create and mimic the finish line in Baltimore. And so you became part of, wow, not only am I racing against a legend, here I am, I'm at the finish line. And then, of course, we took the idea of the most coveted position, the Baltimore Times cover, and used AI to create the backdrop. And, we put the legends on the cover, and so we had this professional bike, it was like 6 grand. So a friend of mine's loaned it to me, and you can pose on the bike, and you would be on the bike along with them, and you would be imposed on the image. Of course, we use green screen. And so it was really about coming together with these tech companies to create a different storytelling experience. I at the time we did it, we just did it. I didn't think it to be innovative. I thought this is pretty cool. What else can I do?
I can see the interior design background coming through here. You have a vision, you know what you want, here are the steps we're gonna take to get there. And I have to imagine it requires a lot of collaboration, and this is a theme running through your work, Paris.
I
Collaboration with
see it as
artists.
interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry,
No,
excuse me.
I was just gonna say, collaboration with artists, tech
Mhm.
companies, and community groups. How critical have those partnerships been to your innovation efforts, and what advice would you give other local publishers on building those types of alliances?
I think that I do want to say something. You mentioned something about the interior design, and you're
Mhm.
absolutely right. One of the things about the interior design is as I approach a project, I do see it finished. And so I'm looking and I see that finished project, and I thought, okay, that's where I want to go. And so that finished image really becomes my roadmap. And so, for us as a small organization, the collaboration is really key to our success. And so when we do events, we invite the community in because our programs and initiatives, we can't do it without the community. We are a community newspaper. And so our collaboration allows us to bring them along in the journey of storytelling and, and it's so interesting, in doing that, you find other stories. right? When you start to bring them along, you'll find that everyone participating with you has a story. And you asked me another question, what concerning
Well, it just advice that you might have for other newsrooms to develop that, and I think you may have just touched on it. You gotta get out and meet the people. I heard somebody once saying, "We're on a mission to get elected every day."
there you go. And I think when you are small, I think that there are so many different opportunities to collaborate, and I would encourage organizations, just pick an organization. I am a lover of art. We created, um, and I didn't know at the time we did this. I didn't know. But one of the things that we do when we do pick an organization that we work with, it's important to make sure they align with your values, right? That so that whatever you are working with together, that there is this mutual benefit, there's a satisfaction, there's a community coming together, there's this engagement, and then additional opportunity for storytelling because so much grows out of the experience. And so the one thing that actually I don't so we did this a year ago. We did after we did Petals of Resilience, we did the Best of Black Baltimore. And that was really interesting because I had started to share the idea with small businesses. They were like, wow, this is really great. And then so we did the Best of Black Baltimore, you know that as a reader's poll, but that became even more important in our community because it had not been done before. And so we had some challenges that I think I shared through um, a presentation with editors and publishers, like, wow, the community had never been celebrated. And so we had the challenge of educating the community on how this campaign celebrates, but the engagement was absolutely enormous. And so fast forward after we did that, and we did Petals of Resilience, we were approached by the developer of down here at the Inner Harbor. They're like, "You did this, that was great, you did that. Can you put art in this space?" And so there's an initiative you don't know about called Creatively Black Baltimore, in which we engage the entire arts industry. So we were brought together and we collaborated with renowned artist Larry Pancho Brown from Baltimore with 40 years experience. And so again, talking about collaboration, we transformed a former Ripley's Believe It or Not space into a destination for creatives, a international now visitors destination, a destination in our region with the largest pop-up of art, 500 works of art, immersive experiences. Again, that's my approach to make sure it's so important that the person has an experience. And that's really a design concept. And, number 10 in TikTok, 4 generations attracting so many people down here, and that's just, one example of partnership, and so we're so excited about that, initiative also, and it's picked for us. We love art. Joy and I, our founder, love art, and we're like, "Let's create a platform." But also what we didn't realize at the time we were doing that, and at the time we had done other initiatives, that we were meeting a need, a gap
Mm.
in coverage, in partnership. And so, yeah.
Isn't it interesting how meeting that gap in coverage ends up making your community more vibrant? It just I think about my own, I live in Oklahoma City, and there are so many things that have happened in this city that have made
Yeah.
the city better, and I
Mhm.
think that, journalism can be at the heart of that.
Yes, yes.
So, the Baltimore Times. So, we've talked a lot about things that have happened recently, a lot of innovations with AI, AR, VR. We talked about Pedals of Resilience. Make sure I get that right. What's coming up next for the Baltimore Times? Is there anything in the next year or 2 that you're particularly excited about?
I'm always excited. I believe so I'm gonna say this, as a preface statement that, I believe innovation and technology is a way forward for small organizations and obviously larger ones. I think there's as a small organization, we're embracing more. We're so super excited. This is another collaboration. We have several going on, but this one, I'm excited about because it goes back to how the Baltimore Times first started. And this is we are part of a cohort, which is the LMA, Community Lab Initiative, which is being led by John Heminek. I think I said that correctly. And this project is a collaboration with us. So the Baltimore Times with ADEP LI and Newspack and this is with the support of the local media consortium and Liz Hayes and who is heading up the digital on demand services. And so we are working to collaboratively create an AI model for user or audience generated content stories. And so they will be able to submit their stories and it will run through our custom style guide created by us in collaboration with the two tech companies and it'll be another way we can tell stories. We can't get to everyone. We're a small team, but there's so many untold stories out there. So we're partnering with some organizations to beta test what that would look like, and we're super excited to say that that will launch in August. And we are super excited about two more initiatives that are AI powered, in which we working with an organization called the Multimedia Correspondence Association. I want to also say that I am a proud graduate of the Innovation and Leadership Program as part of the Newmark School of Journalism. And my capstone project was a AI-powered platform that has all the tech on it that allows small local media companies just like ourselves to be able to use all of the technology on one platform. Because what I have found through our work being small, that we have gaps in the tech stack, right? And not being able to fully utilize the tech stack that we do buy, that we also have gaps in that knowledge, right? We don't have IT teams that the larger organizations have. And then as you look at trends and as you look at how now consumers are consuming content, we don't have that in-house ability to create the content in ways that is being consumed, right? 81%, according to Pew, uh, of even adults now are consuming content by video, right? And so one platform that allows you to collaborate and do all of those things. So we're collaborating with the exchange to help to inform a model that would help small and local media organizations, and then also working on an event model that is also part of that. All of that powered by AI. Um, and one of the things about well, I love working about AI. As it continues to iterate, you can continue to update, right? And continue to expand the model, continue to inform the model. And that's what I really like about the AI use. And again, like I said, it is a tool that meets a need. And that's really our approach to it. Yeah.
Is that tool that was all in one that was part of your capstone, is that
It
something you use at
was,
the
it was,
Baltimore?
it was,
It was.
yes, it was part of my capstone project.
And is it something that you use at the Baltimore Times? Is it or is it was it just related to the capstone?
So we use it currently on their platform right now, but it's not powered by AI right now. And so that is what we are working to collaborate with and get funding for, to AI power it, right? And so it will be able to be faster, more efficient, and allowed for improved workflows and output
So
and content delivery.
Mhm. So, my last question for you, I wanted to nerd out if we could just a little bit and you mentioned tech stack. I'm always
Right.
looking for a new AI tool. What are your 2 or 3 favorite AI tools right now?
So I'm still exploring, so it'll make you laugh. I got about 10 pages of AI I've got to go through. I I really so I'm starting to like Perplexity. I like I'm using it. I like chat and I like all the apps behind chat because one of the reasons and then so chat AI and then I'm liking Gemini. I'm using more of the uh of course, note taking, and then taking the notes, and then looking at um, Zapier to be able to take those workflows and then be able to do follow ups, and really looking at any tool that'll help automate, right, to automate workflows. So I'm exploring that, and we'll probably have a great update for you. I want you to ask me that question probably in about 3 months, because I am exploring a lot of different things. That there is some overlap in some things. So I have my chart, and I'm waiting. I'm waiting through that. Um, so I think that those would be my two. Those are my two go to. I'm also looking at um, AI that takes so two things. I do like the LM notebook that takes content and make it a podcast, right? Again, looking at digital content. And then I'm looking at another app, I forgot the name, that makes a video. So I'm really looking at how the AI tools could help us with adoption in this digital transformation environment.
Well, I'm particularly jealous that you mentioned Zapier because I've been trying to figure out Zapier for quite a while now, and I just haven't because you're right. Automating the things you do day to day, that's the stuff that you want to delegate to the machines, not the creative, not the editorial, that. Paris, I think this has been, I think we need many more episodes to talk through this and talk about your journey with the Baltimore Times and how you're using AI, especially when you get that UGC component in there, because I would really love to see how the audience, people in the community, are actually contributing stories to the Baltimore Times. But we're going to wrap it up for this edition of Keep It Local. I wanted to thank you so much for joining us, Paris. And for everybody listening, if this is something that is valuable to your newsroom, please share it with your newsroom, with other newsrooms, and help us help you keep it local.
Thank you.
This has been Keep It Local, a podcast of the Local Media Association. If you got value out of today's podcast, why not give it a review wherever you heard it and share it with a fellow journalist or an entire newsroom? Until next time, for Keep It Local, this is Ryan with the Local Media Association.